Anyway, so let's just settle into our nice, comfortable seated posture with the feet about hips width apart if they are on the ground, and your knees about a hip's width apart and shoulders aligned with the hips. And imagine your spine is a string of pearls of light stretching from the base all the way up through the crown of the head and beyond. So you can really try and imagine you're putting some space in between those vertebrae. And just take a nice deep breath as we relax into the practice and go inward. For a number of you, this will be the last practice you do this evening. So if it is late for you, and it probably is wonderful if you are able to just, after this practice is finished, pretty much just go straight to bed without doing anything more on your phone or your computer or having discussions with others, if that's possible. Anyway, if it's not, there's no problem either, but that's just ideal. So imagine the crown of the head is just nice and relaxed. Release any tension on the face, the temples, the ears, the back of the tongue, the jaw, the back of the head, the back of the neck. Allow your shoulders and shoulder blades to drop down. Relax the throat, the chest, and the belly, and all of your limbs. And then be aware if there are any distractions in your environment, any sounds that might be distracting you. And maybe take a moment to think or to recognize at which point your mind starts to dash off, looking for some other shiny object other than the mind. And then we can be aware of what is actually arising in the mind. More distraction, likely. So whatever is going on in your mind, try not to give yourself a hard time about it. Try not to criticize or judge what's there. Just allow these thoughts to arise. You can categorize them if you wish. Planning, future tripping. That's a love thought. And as you do that, it just, because, we just have this flood of thoughts constantly, a million miles an hour, flood of thoughts. But while we sort of can break them down a little bit and categorize them, it does help us put some space in between the thoughts and become a little bit more objective about what's there rather than being completely entangled up and believing our own stuff. So then bring to mind some people of your life, and these people that we really, really love, and they're very precious to us. You have these kind of deep and profound relationships with. And then there's our strangers, and then there's the ones we don't like so much. And they're all equal in their wish to be happy, the wish to be free from suffering, and having this extraordinary capacity for Buddhahood. And it's also good for us to remember that these relationships that we think are so clearly defined to us as this person's my very, very dear friend, this one is not my dear friend, and this one is just, I couldn't care less, I have no idea who they are. They could change place. So your dearest friend of today, you may not have known them 5 years ago. So think anyway. We'll do this meditation this evening for the benefit of all these people of our life, and by extension, all sentient beings. As we move, as I think it's already started, this last day of this miracles period. I don't think this is maybe called a day of miracles, but anyway, it's the last day of Losar. So we pretty much celebrate it tomorrow. They've already started over there in India and Nepal. So I think there is no negativity that can't be purified. And this purification process, it's basically a psychological one. So we're creating negativity with our mind, so equally we can create positivity instead. And we start with the power of regret. So sincerely regret from the depths of your heart anything you have done to harm any living being on this day, in this life, and in all of our past lives. And think of specific actions of both your body and your speech, and then in general, regret all. And the reason to regret is based on this logic of karma. And we experience everything due to our past karma, our past actions, and having harmed others, we ourselves will necessarily experience suffering in the future. I mean, we cannot bear the thought of any future suffering that we ourselves might experience. We know from our present suffering we don't want any more. So logically, it makes sense to remove the karmic seeds before they ripen as future suffering for us. So think like this: I regret from the depths of my heart having harmed others with my body and my speech, having broken my vows, because I do not want the future suffering. I'm sick of suffering. And also regret any anger, attachment, and the rest that are the cause of why we harm others. And then think again, I'm sick of this suffering. And then think, what can I do about it? Whom can I turn to? So here we come to the power of reliance. And this is divided up into two sections: refuge, and then also developing compassion. So we start by turning to the Buddha, this Buddha Vajrasattva, who we see as a doctor. And we just see him as someone who has the methods that we can use to purify, that we can use to heal ourselves. And it's not that we're needing Vajrasattva to forgive us. It's not that we necessarily want that. We're just looking for methods so we can purify ourselves. So it's like medicine. So imagine Vajrasattva above the crown of your head. You can also imagine this is your teacher manifesting in this form for your benefit. And he's made of radiant, blissful white light, sitting cross-legged on a white lotus and a moon cushion. Has a beautiful, radiant face. His eyes are long and peaceful and full of love and compassion for you and all those people of your life. He has a sweet red mouth. His hair is black and held up in a top knot. His arms are crossed at his heart, the left underneath the right. The left is holding a bell representing wisdom, and the right is holding a vajra, which represents, the indestructibility of compassion. And their being crossed represents the union of these two. And this symbolizes enlightenment itself, the development of infinite wisdom and infinite compassion. To the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, I go for refuge until I'm enlightened by this practice of meditating on Guru Vajrasattva. May I reach Buddhahood so as to benefit all sentient beings. So in order to develop compassion, we need to rely upon other beings, the very beings we have harmed, and those who have harmed us, by developing compassion for them. So think particularly of someone you may have harmed recently and in the past, and then in general, all beings we have ever harmed since beginningless time. And then remember those who may have harmed you, and just have really strong compassion for them, because they're going to suffer as a result of the harm they've done to you. So compassion is really wishing someone to be free from suffering. So make a strong aspiration to do this practice of purification for all these beings, and think, I must purify for their sake. And then we come to the power of the remedy, and we start with the body. And Vajrasattva very compassionately sends powerful white nectar, like coming out of a hose, quite forcefully from his heart. And it arcs around and enters your crown and pours into your entire body, filling you completely. and it keeps pouring into you until it forces out of your lower orifices all the harm you've ever done to any living being with your body in the form of inky liquid, and this pours out of you and disappears into space, not one atom left, as we recite the mantra. Vajrasattva samaya manupalaya vajrasattva dinapatita dida meboa sutokaya meboa supokaya meboa anarakta meboa sawasidi mempi yatsa sawa kama sita me sitam shriyam kuru hum ha 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 ho bhagavan sawa tatagata vajrama memutta vajrabawa mahasamaya satra a hum pe vajrasattva samaya manupalaya vajrasattva dinapatita dida meboa sutokaya meboa supokaya meboa Anarakta meboa sawasidi mempi yatsa sawa kama sita me sitam shriyam kuruhum ha 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 ho bhagavan sawa tatagata vajrama memutta vajrabawa mahasamaya satra a hum pe vajrasattva samaya manupalaya vajrasattva dinapatita dida meboa sutokaya meboa supokaya meboa anarakta meboa sawasidi mempi yatsa sawa kama sita me sitam shriyam kuruhum ha 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 ho bhagavan Sawa tatagata vajrama mimutta vajrabawa mahasamaya satra a hum pe vajrasattva samaya manupalaya vajrasattva dinapatita dida meboa sutokaya meboa supokaya meboa anarakta meboa sawasidi mempi yatsa sawa kama sita me sitam shriyam kuruhum ha 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 ho bhagavan sawa tatagata vajrama mimutta vajrabawa mahasamaya satra a hum pe Vajrasattva samaya manupalaya vajrasattva dinapatita dida meboa sutokaya meboa supokaya meboa anarakta meboa sawasidi mempi yatsa sawa kama sita me sitam shriyam kuruhum ha 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 ho bhagavan sawa tatagata vajrama memutta vajrabawa mahasamaya satra a hum pe vajrasattva samaya manupalaya vajrasattva dinapatita dida meboa sutokaya meboa supokaya meboa Anarakta meboa sawasidi mempi yatsa sawa kama sita me sitam shriyam kuruhum ha ha ho bhagavan sawa tatagata vajrama memutta vajrabawa mahasamaya satra a hum pe vajrasattva samaya manupalaya vajrasattva dinapatita dida meboa sutokaya meboa supokaya meboa anarakta meboa sawasidi mempi yatsa sawa kama sita me sitam shriyam kuruhum ha 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 ho bhagavan Sawa tatagata vajrama mimutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sattva a hum pe. So be delighted that all the harm you've ever done to any sentient being with your body is now completely purified, and think there's no way you could do anything but benefit others now with your body. And next is the purification of our speech. And Vajrasattva very happily sends powerful nectar from his heart chakra, and this arcs around and quite forcefully enters your crown and fills your entire body, except this time forcing up to the top of your body all the negativity of your speech, and this overflows and disappears into space, not one atom left. So just imagine that all the gossip and the harsh speech and the useless speech and lying and talking badly about others behind their backs, all of this is purified by this powerful nectar filling you as we recite the mantra. Vajrasattva samaya manupalaya vajrasattva dinapatita dida meboa sutokaya meboa supokaya meboa anarakta meboa sawasidi mempi yatsa sawa kama sita me sitam shriyam kuruhum ha 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 ho bhagavan sawa tatagata vajrama memutta vajrabawa mahasamaya satra a hum pe vajrasattva samaya manupalaya vajrasattva dinapatita dida meboa sutokaya meboa supokaya meboa Anarakta meboa sawasidi mempi yatsa sawa kama sita me sitam shriyam kuruhum ha 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 ho bhagavan sawa tatagata vajrama memutta vajrabawa mahasamaya satra a hum pe vajrasattva samaya manupalaya vajrasattva dinapatita dida meboa sutokaya meboa supokaya meboa anarakta meboa sawasidi mempi yatsa sawa kama sita me sitam shriyam kuruhum ha 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 ho bhagavan sawa tatagata vajrama memutta vajrabawa mahasamaya satra a hum pe vajrasattva samaya manupalaya vajrasattva dinapatita dida meboa sutokaya meboa supokaya meboa anarakta meboa sawasidi mempi yatsa sawa kama sita me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Aham Pe and Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dira Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Aham Pe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Dita Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Aham Pe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Dita Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sattva Hum Pe. So again, feel so happy that your speech is now completely purified, and imagine it's not possible to do anything but benefit others now with your speech. And this includes yourself because you'll be hearing it. And then just also remember that the written word is representative of your speech. This was Buddha's greatest gift to the world, was the speech, the teachings. So next is the purification of the mind, and Vajrasattva very compassionately sends powerful beams of light from his heart chakra, and this arcs around and enters your crown and fills your entire being. So imagine you're walking into a room, it's dark, you flick on the switch and that light instantly dispels the darkness. So it's the same. It's just an analogy. The light from Vajrasattva's heart hits your heart chakra, and all the darkness of the negativity of your mind, all your attachment and neediness, bitterness, grudges, all of this, jealousy, anxiety, depression, all of this instantly dispelled. Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Dita Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha Ha Ho Bhagavan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Aham Pe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Dita Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Aham Pe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Dita Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Aham Pe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Dita Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Aham Pe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Dita Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Aham Pe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Dita Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Aham Pe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Dita Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Aham Pe. So again, be delighted that all your delusions which are the source of all of our own suffering and the cause of why we harm others with our body and our speech, are completely purified. And think there is no space in your heart now for anything other than love and kindness and forgiveness and wisdom and bliss and compassion. And so next is the purification of even the imprints of negativity of the body, speech, and mind. And this time, imagine that Vajrasattva very happily sends light and nectar, and it fills you completely and eradicates even those very, very subtle imprints of negative energy. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dinapatita Dida Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpiyatsa Sawa Kamasita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha Ho Bhagavan Sawatata Gata Vajrama Mimutsa Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Satra Ahum Pe Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dinapatita Dida Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpiyatsa Sawa Kamasita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tatagata Vajrama Mimutsa Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Satra Ahum Pe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dinapatita Dida Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpiyatsa Sawa Kamasita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tatagata Vajrama Mimutsa Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Satra Ahum Pe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dinapatita Dida Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpiyatsa Sawa Kamasita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tatagata Vajrama Mimutsa Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Satra Ahum Pe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dinapatita Dida Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpiyatsa Sawa Kamasita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tatagata Vajrama Mimutsa Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Satra Ahum Pe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dinapatita Dida Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpiyatsa Sawa Kamasita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tatagata Vajrama Mimutsa Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Satra Ahum Pe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dinapatita Dida Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpiyatsa Sawa Kamasita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tatagata Vajrama Mimutsa Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Satra Ahum Pe. So now feel completely purified. There's not one atom of negativity left in your mind stream. Even the subtlest obscurations at your enlightenment have been removed. And now the power of resolve and the fourth and final step in the purification process. And it's really crucial, this determination. Well, we have to make a decision before we do anything. So we decide we don't want to harm with our body and our speech and our mind. So without making some kind of a commitment, some kind of decision, we're just going to keep following the same old habits, the same old energy, habit patterns over and over again. So this determination, this aspiration to not harm becomes like a beacon that guides our body and our speech and our mind in new directions. So we just have to aspire to do things differently. So if you have something that you've been working on, so first of all, rejoice. And then there's something that you'd like to work on, some little tiny habit, some little speech thing that you keep doing, some internal dialogue that you continue to engage in. So maybe just imagine you're going to work on this for a minute or 5 seconds or 5 minutes. And then also, as Yangtze Rinpoche suggested, to just try and notice when that sort of ego scammer inside starts to raise its head. So this determination to try and refrain from harming kind of is, it's like a beacon that guides our body and our speech and our mind. It gives us some guardrails and gives us strength to change. So Vajrasattva is delighted with us and wanting to merge with your mind, melts into white light and absorbs into you through your crown, and think, my teacher's body, speech, and mind, Vajrasattva's body, speech, and mind, and my own body, speech, and mind are the same. And then we think to meditate a little bit on emptiness. In emptiness, there is no I, the creator of negative karma. There is no action of creating negative karma. And there is no negative karma created. So at whatever level you understand emptiness, place your mind there for a little while. We can think of all phenomena as being empty. They do not exist from their own side. We can also think that the way things appear to me may not necessarily be the way they actually exist. So we can dedicate all the merit, all the positive energy we've created doing this practice to all living beings and think, may all this virtuous karma I've created from doing this practice ripen as my enlightenment for the sake of sentient beings as quickly as possible. So then think, have a strong wish for His Holiness the Dalai Lama to live long and to be able to continue teaching, and then for the swift return of Lama Zopa Rinpoche. And then also dedicate for any of your own personal precious teachers. Okay.